Do you think it was easier at the younger age than it would have been, if they were already teenagers when you started the process? I think one thing that's real interesting with entrepreneurship, of course, it has its challenges. Somebody who's done many businesses, some successful, some not, I can attest to the fact that it's not easy. It's never easy. The passport, though, compared to the Russian passport,
it's way better.
It's way better.
Last year's Russian passport not as strong as it used to be, but the world is changing so fast, and you never know what's happening, what will happen tomorrow. If you look back, like in 5 years, so many big things happened in the world that probably would be enough for 50 years. And therefore, as we already discussed, it's very good to have the plan B. Georgia is very efficient in terms of establishing a new legal entity, doing business. It has very few bureaucracy procedures, so it is really easy to start a business in Georgia, to open an account, to find the accountant, etc.
Even like for school trips, they need to go somewhere. It is a huge problem to get a visa.
I think you mentioned the younger one just had a trip to Spain. Did he have to go through the process of applying for a Schengen?
It was really, really challenging to get him the visa. So yes, it has affected us a lot, and for ourselves as well. It's just next to impossible to get a slot at the embassy to go to. Not just the fear of rejection. It's just like even trying and getting the visa is not that easy anymore.
Welcome back to another episode of The Jer's Way. Happy to have you back with us. And today we have a couple very special guests, my good friends Alex and Irina, both of whom have been living here in Georgia for about the past 10 years. And this brings us to one of the most important questions that I always get asked. So many of you have at one time or another said to me, Jers, this lifestyle you live, that's somewhat nomadic, moving countries, it's great, but what about if you have a family? So today we wanted to talk to a couple of people who have been living in a different country for quite some time now and get a feel for what life is really like. Welcome.
Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, Alex.
Hello.
Thanks for coming. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for inviting.
So you guys have been living in Georgia for about 10 years now, correct?
Yeah, right. Actually, Georgia is not the first move that we made as a family, because we got married in Belarus.
Okay.
And then we moved to Moscow, to Russia. We lived there for another 10 years, and last 10 years we've been living in Georgia.
Okay. And Alex, so the audience knows, Alex is Russian and Irina is Belarusian. What brought you to Georgia?
Actually, in the very beginning, we came here as a part of my job. I was working for a multinational company, and that was my mission, to come to Georgia for a short period of time. Basically, it's 3 to 4 years, but then we decided to stay.
And how's your experience been? What do you think about Georgia? How has life been as an expat living in Georgia all of this time?
That's a great question. I can tell you that our experience as Russian-speaking people here in Georgia was very interesting and very nice, because from my point of view, Georgia is a unique country that combines the legacy that all post-Soviet Union countries and nationalities have all together, with like education, culture, etc., even the language, because many Georgians do speak Russian. And then Georgia took its own way after the Soviet Union collapsed, and since that event, Georgia made quite long leap towards EU, and now Georgia is somewhere in between. Yeah, it's my personal experience. So for us, coming to Georgia from Russia and Belarus, it's already not like post-Soviet Union country. It's something different, but it's not that different that make us feel uncomfortable. So it's like a comfortable balance in between being somewhere in a new environment, but also have some uh,
Commonalities.
yeah, commonalities with what we are from. So I think for Russian-speaking people, it's a really great place to be.
And you have two children, older now, but of course they came of age, grew up in Georgia. How was the experience not just for you but for your family, for your children?
Let's ask the family.
Well, it was pretty good actually. It has some ups and downs, of course, but generally speaking, I can't complain. Though I understand that it would have been easier if the kids were growing like where they were born, with family around and the culture, etc. So that is familiar. Here, though, it was a little bit isolating in a way. It also very much depends on what your goal is. As Alex just mentioned, we came here initially for a period of 3-4 years. Sometimes we thought it would be even 2. So we didn't have, the goal of like immersing into the local culture and, so we didn't send our kids to the Georgian school. So they went to an international school where you don't get too much of the Georgian culture, so because it's people who come and go naturally. But if your goal is to, come here and stay, I think it would have been better to send them to Georgian school, so they would be more like assimilated already. But at the beginning, we didn't have that. We thought we would be going back. So the kids were in an international school. And it was great in a way because they learned English, they speak French, they speak other languages, and some Georgian,
So the kids don't speak fluent Georgian?
No, they're not fluent in Georgian. Because at the beginning it wasn't, it wasn't necessary because we would be going back. That's what we thought. But then we decided to stay, and they were already in the international school, and their main language is English. So if you ask what the experience is like, experience is that they are mainly with the international community. Their main languages are English and French, a bit of Russian as well, and some Georgian, so they're not like introduced too much to the Georgian way. They don't have they do have Georgian friends, but also those who speak other languages.
And I would assume most of their Georgian friends are going to speak English or Russian, correct?
Because those Georgian friends are from the international schools as well. Those whose parents sent me to an international school, again with the view of sending them to study abroad later. So if we think of people who come here to live here initially, the good strategy would be to send people to Georgian schools, or at least to the schools where Georgian is really the thing, so they can be fluent in a couple of years.
More cultural immersion. And for you and for Alex, did you guys learn Georgian yourselves, or?
That is a great question. Okay, I can't say tried. We've been trying. We still are. The thing is, again, had we known that we would be here this long, we would have probably be able to speak it fluently by now. But the first 3 years, it was like an option. So we did take classes. We can get by. We can talk, at the supermarket, taxi drivers. We can. I mean, if I need to explain something, I can. But I can't have a meaningful conversation like making in a podcast in Georgian. Definitely not. And Georgian is not an easy language to learn.
That's what I was just going to say.
It doesn't stick to you.
It's no other family, correct?
No. It's there's nothing in common. Like you can't relate it to anything when you're learning it. It's like completely new thing, starting from scratch. So, it requires more effort than learning another like European language. Definitely. So you need to be focused on you really need to know that this is the thing you need. And when you're not sure that you're going to be here, for a long time, this is not the thing. So.
Do you think the assimilation into the culture would have been easier if you had known from the beginning that we were going to make this a home and we were going to stay here for as much time as you have?
I'm sure I can't speak about Alex, but I'm sure I would have made more effort.
Yeah.
Because I learned the alphabet in the first 2 weeks of being here, and I really wanted to do it. But since it's difficult, and you have young kids to raise, and there's so many challenges other than the language. When it's not an obligatory thing for you, then it kind of fades away a little bit, and you go, okay, I can get by with English and Russian. It's not like you're isolated. You speak to people.
Yeah.
And especially when you're, most of the society you're in is international, these are the people who don't require the language of the Georgian language, the knowledge.
That's an interesting question. So most of your interactions, your social circle, are not Georgians. They're either
Correct.
expats or
Correct.
foreigners living here. What nationalities?
Any.
Yeah.
From
It's a real smorgasbord here.
Yeah, from the United States to China and Japan, the whole range. Really, there's so many international people here, so you're never, bored.
So I can add here that Georgia actually quite a unique country in this matter, because traditionally Georgia was very multinational. There are majority, of course, Georgians, but also there are Armenians, there are Azerbaijani people, there are Russians and Ukrainians traditionally living here in Georgia. Turkish people in Ajara region. So Georgia was always multinational, and therefore it was very tolerant to other cultures, other religions, etc. And after Soviet Union collapse, Georgia was the only place in the Caucasus where any international organization can set up a headquarters or office to work for the Caucasus countries, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia, because Armenia and Azerbaijan for decades were in a war situation, and it was not possible to go from Azerbaijan to Armenia, for example. So Georgia was really the hub for all these international organizations. Therefore, many international people from all around the world were coming to Georgia to work here, and some of them decided to stay. And
many people decide to stay after the mission is over.
So I say Tbilisi, in particular, is a very multinational city. And in our experience in Tbilisi, 80% of Georgians would speak either Russian, either English. So for someone who speaks both languages, it's almost no issue with communication.
As long as you speak one of the English or the
and
Russian.
some
Correct.
Georgian for the 20 people that don't speak the languages.
And I think you told me it's the younger generation, it's more English.
Definitely.
And the older generation is more Russian. Is that correct?
Those who still remember the Soviet Union will speak some Russian, at least, from fluent to a little bit, but still. And after the Soviet Union collapsed, the focus was on English, definitely. So the younger population, they mainly speak English. Yeah.
And how has the experience been for your children? Do you find that they're happy living in another culture? Have they been able to adjust? How do you think it's affected them, the difference, had they stayed in Moscow, had they stayed in Belarus?
Well, I think had they stayed in Moscow or in Belarus, they would have more opportunities in terms of where to go after school. No, I'll rephrase that. Not more opportunities. They would have different opportunities from what they have now. So if they were in Belarus or in Moscow, it would be a Russian-speaking school. Mm-hmm. So they would have a lot of opportunities to go to universities there, and somewhat limited opportunities to go to international universities, because the two systems, the three systems, they're different. Belarus and Russia, school living certificate doesn't allow kids to go directly to Western university, for example. You need to do a preparatory year first, or go to a local university for 1 year and only then apply. Here, on the other side, it's that they have, the elder ones already graduated from school, so he had the international school living certificate. He was in an IB school, and he could apply directly. This is exactly what he did. And but since he doesn't speak the local language, and he doesn't have the local school living certificate, he couldn't go to any university here unless he applies as a foreigner, and it's like the same. You need to pay for the university as a foreigner.
Are the universities here English speaking, or are they?
No, they're Georgian speaking, but
Georgian-speaking.
there are some English speaking programs as
Okay.
well as some Russian speaking programs as well.
Okay.
They're not of a great variety, but still you can find something. So they could have this option as well, but why do an English speaking program here
In
if
Georgia, when you have the
yeah.
opportunity
Yeah.
to go abroad?
Well, this is an option as well. For example, there are international students here. A lot of people come to study in medical university in English, also in at TSU technological something.
University,
Yeah.
right.
So they have English speaking programs. Also, they founded a new faculty to do architecture in English as well. So their opportunities are kind of coming and coming and coming, but it's still work in progress. So
Talking about schools, there are also many options. Of course, there are Georgian schools, different schools on different levels, and specialized schools available. But also there are many English schools.
English speaking, yeah.
English-speaking schools. They do AB, British curriculum,
curriculum, mhm.
American curriculum. There are some options, and there are French schools, German schools,
French
Russian-speaking
school,
schools.
German school, Italian school, a couple of Russian schools, private. I mean, they're private, of course.
Because there's such a large expat community, so you have all of the different
Yes.
cultures and countries
Yes.
have their versions here.
Yes, exactly. So, but they're all private, of course, though they require no money.
Adding to what Ira said about experience with kids, I think traveling with kids, it's a little bit more difficult than traveling alone, yeah, like that, because changing the school is always a stress for kids. It takes time to get friends.
What age were the kids when they made the switch?
One was 6, another one 9.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Strictly speaking, 5 and 8 when they first entered the
yeah.
school.
Okay. And was that a good age for them to do that? Or do
It
you
was
think
okay. It
yeah.
was okay. Actually, they have a very good support system. All international schools here, from what I hear, they have like additional lessons of the language they're going to study in, and also they try to like connect you with other peoples who have the same mother tongue. So the kids don't feel like alone, and they have someone who will translate while they don't understand. And also they have a tutor also, like for them specifically, to help them with this, with the transition. So it was pretty smooth, actually. The elder one already knew some English. It did help somewhat.
A little bit.
Yeah, the younger one didn't understand a word.
But how quickly did he pick it up?
He started understanding it within the first like 4 or 5 months.
Okay.
So he did understand everything according to what the teachers were telling me. Like he does understand, he does exactly what he's asked, but when we talk to him, he responds in Russian. So to start speaking English, it took him a little longer. By April, I'd say, he was like all of a sudden fluent in English.
He just jumped. The light switch.
Yes.
it's like half year, actually.
More or less, yeah. He didn't mind it though. Like he was fine.
So do you think it was easier at the younger age than it would have been, if they were already teenagers when you started the process?
So they say.
So they say.
So they say the younger the kids, the easier it is for them to pick up the second language. It's also the thing, the thing is, it's not just picking up the language. It's they have to study in another language, like do homework, understand what the teachers tell them. It's not just learning a language, but living in your own language environment. It's two things at the same time. And judging by how they were doing at school, I realized that it was okay because they were able to do both. They were not like behind at school. They were doing fine. It means that they could cope pretty well, and there was no like psychological trauma or anything. They were okay.
In our case, actually, it was 2 times because the younger son that we were mentioning now, he changed this school after 4 years. Yeah,
After
so
5.
5 years, 5 years in British school, and then he went to French school. Where
Yeah, all of a
the
sudden he decided
the
to
entire
change.
program was in French, and in 3-4 months he learned
learned French.
French, some French, and he started, studying all the classes in French. Now he speaks like fluently
And again,
English
the
and French.
support was really nice, at the school, the French school. They tried to help him. That there was a tutor attached to him and some additional lessons in French. And it was, you could see the effort they were making to make the kids like him feel very comfortable there in this environment.
It also probably really helps with the international school that you always have people coming and going, which is the nature of an international school. You have expats, you have...
Well, this one isn't like really an international school because international school like the British one, definitely the rotation was within the student community and the teacher community, very, very rapid, like 1, 2, 3 years. The French school is a bit different though because they are partially financed by the French embassy.
Okay.
And it's a part of it's not a private school like Georgian owned private school as such. So it's French,
So it's
subsidized
part
by the
of
government.
the system, of the worldwide system
Yeah.
of French education.
Schools. So that doesn't have the turnover. It doesn't have
No,
the...
not really.
okay.
Not so. It was set up for the French citizens living here. So and then they just decided, okay, we'll let other local kids here as well if they want to. So there's not much of rotation, I would say, but still, yeah, it's kind of partly international.
Very good. I guess the next, as we sort of segue into the next theme, what I wanted to get into, you originally came on a work assignment, basically. It was an expat job for a multinational company. And at some point, you decided to leave that company and you decided to do your own thing, to start your own business. So I'm very curious what that transition looked like, how you found it, and what sort of caused you to make that change.
All right, that's another great question. Actually, it's a big change because I've been working for that company for more than 20 years. And at some point, I decided that I was thinking that there are 2 ways for me. One way is to work in that company until I'm retired.
Yeah.
Or the second option is to try something new. And then I have plan B to go back to multinational in case something goes wrong. So I thought that was the age that I was kind of prepared to try something else, and also that was coincidence, or maybe one of the reasons was that I just graduated from MBA in IE Business School in Madrid, and that business school is really entrepreneur oriented. So it gave me some confidence that I can do something else, and I decided to quit the company and start my own business here in Georgia. It was a painful experience. I think most of entrepreneurs would be smiling and nodding now. Yeah, it's not easy. Not everything went well. So there were some failures, of course. This is how we learn. But overall, now we have a successful business, several legal entities working mainly in design, architecture, and construction fields. And I think it was really worth doing, because now I am the owner, and I'm the person who is not dependable
Dependent.
dependent
Dependent,
from someone else. So everything is in my hands.
I think one thing that's real interesting with entrepreneurship, of course, it has its challenges. As, somebody who's done many businesses, some successful, some not, I can attest to the fact that it's not easy. It's never easy. But it's another level when you're trying to do it in a country, in a place that isn't your country.
Yeah.
And so you have to, there's the difficult part of just starting a business,
Mm-hmm.
entering a new career. But talk a little bit about how it was to do this in Georgia. How did that affect the business?
So we were lucky that that decision was taken when we were in Georgia. We were living here due to several reasons. One of them is the language. As I said, speaking Russian and English, even without Georgian, I was able to communicate to 90 or 95% of my potential clients or contractors, suppliers, etc. So I had no big issue with the language, and this is very unique to Georgia. And the second, Georgia is very efficient in terms of establishing a new legal entity, doing business. It has very few bureaucracy procedures, so it is really easy to start a business in Georgia, to open an account, to find the accountant, etc. So starting business in Georgia was relatively easier than in many other countries in the world.
And as you mentioned, the banking is quite good here.
I can tell you that at the time we moved from Moscow to Tbilisi, banking system here was more advanced. I cannot tell you now, so many years passed, but at that time Georgian banking system was really advanced and developed. And as I know, two biggest banks in Georgia, TBC and BOG, won a lot of different European awards, like best retail bank or best mobile application, etc.
They have very good technological platforms, especially for a somewhat offshore bank. So you found, obviously it's two separate things, opening accounts when you came here personally and then doing it again for your business. But you found it relatively straightforward, not just the company formation, but also setting up accounts and doing all of the technical things you have to do to make a business
Before
operate.
2022, that was really easy for everyone. Regardless of the passports, any person could come to Georgia and stay for 1 year without any visa. For most of the countries, it's more than 120 countries that citizens had that opportunity. And any person could establish a company, and the registration was done in like 1-2 days. And an opening bank account also took like 1-2 days. So in 1 week you can do everything. You can register. You can open personal bank account. You could register a company, and you can get a bank account for the company. Really in 1 week. After 2022, it was not that easy anymore. So now it depends on the passports. So people with some passports are still easy to get everything. With other passports, it takes a bit longer and not 100% guaranteed.
Yeah, what happened in, I think it was 22, 23, Georgia joined the CRS, Common Reporting Standards. So all of that KYC stuff that we're all used to, they became compliant here. So that means it's more complicated, although it's still pretty easy to open accounts here. I've been here, as many of you know, for the past month, and I've opened a couple new accounts for myself, and very straightforward. So it's definitely still a good place to bank, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. The banks, both bigger banks, as I mentioned, they're public companies. They have stock on London's exchange, so they try to follow all the requirements and procedures which applied in other developed countries.
Yep.
So you don't in the banking area, you don't feel that you are not in a developed European country.
For sure. I think also what's interesting about the banking here is it's sort of a mix between the traditional, like European traditional banks that maybe a lot of you are used to, and the offshore banking. So it still has a lot of the benefits of the offshore with the functionality of the first world banks. I've been very impressed playing around on the like online platforms of Bank of Georgia and TBC. So they've done a good job. I'm impressed.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, cool. I think the next thing I really want to talk about with you guys. So Alex, as I said, is Russian. Irina, Belarusian. You both have Russian passports.
I have both.
You have both passports. Do you have both as well, Alex?
No,
you
just one.
Just have one. So a Russian passport, until a few years ago, it was a decent travel document. It wasn't maybe an EU passport. It wasn't Canadian, U.S. passport, but it was a good passport. You could have visa-free travel to much of the world, and then all of a sudden it became pretty bad overnight.
True.
How has that been? How has that affected you? That all of a sudden overnight you just had this big change with your mobility and your ability to travel.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Okay. I don't know. I know what we're limited to, but the thing is that we, with the new business, with the new lifestyle, it's not like we are traveling all the time at the moment. Like when Alex was still with this multinational company, we had like 4 holidays a year, more or less, like short and or longer, and we would travel really. And with the Russian passport, it was no problem at all. Like even if we needed a visa somewhere, it was not difficult to get it. Now all of a sudden, you either can't get a visa or you can't even get an appointment. But also our lifestyle has changed. So like we are the owners of our own companies now, and we just don't travel that much, to be honest. But when it is really important, it's a big downshift. How do you say it?
Downgrade.
Downgrade, yes. Because let's speak about, for example, our eldest son who graduated from school last year and needed to go to university. And we were just talking about the, opportunities after graduating from an IB school. You can go anywhere in the world and his school living certificate is accepted, except for the fact that he can't get a visa. Or some countries don't even accept, a Russian kid anymore because he has this passport. So he wouldn't even apply for that. So all of a sudden, I was taking my kids away from, that place, thinking that they will have more opportunities here, and all of a sudden they have less opportunities, So it has affected a great deal in that respect. With the younger one, not really much, because he doesn't travel on his own. But even like for school trips, they need to go somewhere. It is a huge problem to get a visa.
I think you mentioned the younger one just had a trip to Spain. Did he have to go through the process of applying for a Schengen?
It was really, really challenging to get him the visa. So yes, it has affected us a lot. And for ourselves as well. It's just next to impossible to get a slot at the embassy to go to. Not just, the fear of rejection is just like even trying and getting the visa is not that easy anymore. So, yeah, it has changed a lot.
Yeah, I would add that, last year's Russian passport not as strong as it used to be. But the world is changing so fast, and you never know what's happening, what will happen tomorrow. If you look back, like in 5 years, so many big things happened in the world that probably would be enough for 50 years, and therefore, as we already discussed, it's very good to have the plan B. So
Exactly.
Having one passport, one permit, residence permit, one bank account, one company, it's very tricky these days. Yes,
not enough.
Yeah,
It's
it's risk, and we see it, we feel it, and probably therefore we're here because.
Yeah, I was going to ask that because if Georgia's working for you, it's functional. You've been here a while now, but if you had the optionality, maybe you'd look elsewhere.
This is what we are now thinking about.
Yeah.
So we think
We're
that,
trying to figure out, actually,
Yeah.
because everything is changing, and it's changing so rapidly, you can hardly keep up with the changes,
And
both
the-
internationally and here.
And the thing is, when something like this happens, when there's an event like what happened, and all of a sudden, overnight almost, the passport, the downgrade, and you don't have time to react. By that point, it's too late. You're already shut off for the opportunity that a lot of countries would have given you before to maybe get a second citizenship
Very
or
true.
get a second residency.
Very true.
How about Georgian citizenship? Have you guys looked into that at all?
Actually, we are just qualified
Uh-huh.
for applying to Georgian
Because we've
citizenship.
lived here.
Yeah, we've
What's the
been-
qualification? Is it 10 years?
10 years. Yeah,
Okay.
10 years.
And what's involved with the process?
The process is pretty straightforward. There are several ways, several options how to get Georgian citizenship through naturalization.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has Georgian roots, then through a special any special advantages that a person can bring to Georgia, like it can be sport, it can be art, education, etc. And the standard way that we're thinking about, it goes through the tests. Everyone has to pass language test,
Ah, so you'd have to learn
history
Georgian.
test, and the legislation test. Then there should be an interview,
Mhm.
and everything is okay. Then your application goes to the president, and if the president signs your application, then you may get a Georgian passport.
And do you think you'll go through with it?
We are thinking about that seriously. Yeah, this is
You
one of
are
the.
thinking about it seriously.
This is one of the options.
No interest in doing it.
I can't say no interest. I'm not sure whether I need it or not. I already have two,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and I'm just not sure yet. I need to see
The benefit.
how it goes here. I'm not very convinced that it's a good option. Not yet.
Understood. The passport, though, compared to the Russian passport, is
It's way better.
It's way better. Is
For now.
It has visa free to.
It is visa free for
To
now,
Schengen.
but again, you know,
That
with the
can change.
situation here, it's
Yeah.
very unclear what's going to happen. So I don't want to sound like too, you know, practical, you know, but also the rule is that you have to denounce your previous citizenship.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm not sure. I'm not convinced that, you know.
Yeah.
It will take time with me. Alex is a little bit more convinced, I think.
I think with a lot of countries have that where you technically can't have the second citizenship, and in many cases you can sort of work your way around that and keep both of them. But there's always a risk in
Maybe.
that too.
Yes.
As far as we know, there is a requirement to
Uh-huh.
denounce the second citizenship, but that requirement is not always
Enforced.
applied.
Not
Yeah,
enforced.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So there are risks, of course, but I mean, it's always like the two sides of the medal.
Yeah.
Then there's some advantages and disadvantages in every big decision, and applying for a passport, for a citizenship, I think it's a pretty big decision.
Yeah, I think it's especially, I can speak to the same thing. I have Austrian citizenship, and technically speaking, it's a country that prohibits the dual nationality. So it's a risk, because if you do take the approach, hey, I'm going to try to work around it, just be careful, I think I'll be okay. It's not guaranteed either. So if something happens, you run the risk, and then, okay, you've lost, in your case, like the Russian passport, and then things in the world change, and then suddenly you have a Georgian passport, and you don't have your Russian passport, and is it a net negative instead of a positive in the end?
Yeah, right. Therefore, it's always better to have like two passports,
Yeah,
To
yeah.
minimize
Well, it's
the risk,
to think ahead, and like I always talk about multiple residencies and just giving yourself options, whether it's citizenships, whether it's residencies, whether it's banking, to diversify. I think is prudent in this world because we never know what's going to happen.
Exactly.
I think we're pretty much getting towards the end. What I wanted to do is sort of bring it back full circle about the experience here in Georgia. How have you seen things change in your 10 years here? From I'm not just talking from like a political sense, because of course it has changed in that regards, but also just I think when one moves to a new country, they sort of see it with these wide open eyes. It's exciting, the culture's great, and then you sort of see little cracks in it, and you sort of understand the culture better. So the things that maybe you thought were cute and warm at first become annoying, and you really see the real place. Have you experienced anything like that?
Of course.
Yeah.
I think there are lots about expectations, and if someone is going to a country like Georgia, coming from Switzerland to Georgia and expect seeing things here same as the person experienced in Switzerland, that's a wrong approach, and probably that person will suffer. But if you expect something different and you understand how it works here and you can accept it, then it goes pretty well. So
Also, it depends very much on where you're coming from.
Yeah.
People have different perspectives. So, to give you an example, like we have friends who live in Dubai. They came here for the first time, and their first experience compared to our first experience was completely different because we were coming from different places, right?
Yeah.
So their first experience was, oh my God, so much greenery here, so much fresh
Compared to
air,
Dubai.
and it's not this hot, and you can walk around, and oh my God, this is so good to be here, We had a different perspective because we were not like lacking nature or fresh air where we came from. So we were looking at different things. So, yeah, sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it really depends on where you come from and also what you expect, and if you're ready to accept that things go differently here. But overall, I think Georgia is a very good place for that change. As I said, for the Russian-speaking people, especially because it's a very smooth, it's a very soft change of the culture, of language, of everything, even the climate. So Georgia has a very warm climate. It's not very cold, not cold at all in winter. It's not too hot in summer. There is mountain, there is sea, there is like everything, all nature, adventures can be found in Georgia.
Yeah, you don't have to go to Italy to ski, There's,
Right.
there's no more reason to suffer through the visa process
Yeah,
because
yeah,
you can go
you have
at
sea, you have
2
the
hours
mountains,
from
beautiful
Tbilisi.
nature.
Yeah.
It is. It's absolutely. I encourage everybody to come here. It's a beautiful, beautiful country.
True,
Lots of
they
great
have it all.
scenery.
But
here.
there are some issues as well. We have
Of
to,
course.
honestly talk to everyone. One of them is the food. The food in Georgia is so good. Then if you are here for 1 week, it's okay. But if you live here for several months, then you
10
grow
kilos plus.
you grow bigger and bigger, and that's a big issue. And after some time you have to address it. Otherwise, it's difficult.
That's actually, it brings up an interesting point, because one thing I've noticed, having spent the month here and going to the grocery stores, some of the things maybe that you're used to being able to buy, it's more difficult to get here. Ingredients, that sort of thing, meat.
Yeah.
But it's getting better.
Is getting better.
Yes,
You've seen that.
definitely. Well, when we first came here, there was like no way to buy an avocado or rucola.
Yeah.
Now it's everywhere, right? So it's just an example, but it's getting better. So the more people come, the more there's demand. So the more there's supply.
It's not just about products; it's about services as well. Because in 2022 and 2023, a lot of people from Russia, Belarus, Ukraine came to Georgia for permanent living, not just as a tourist. And they came here and they brought a lot of expertise, a lot of know-how, opened new places with new services, co-working places appeared everywhere. So it is developing. It is developing, and we think that for Georgia that influence incoming people. Yeah, they brought not just their money but also their professional expertise. It was very, very good.
Very good. Okay, well, one final question. If you were starting over today and coming to Georgia for the first time, what would you do differently?
Yeah, I think we discussed it already. I would start learning Georgian from the very
beginning.
first day. Yeah, that was really something that would help really to merge into the culture and be more flexible, more free in the business, in everyday life. So language is very important.
I always say that language is essential if you're going to move to a country.
Definitely.
Even a difficult language like Georgia.
Yes, definitely. If you want to have a rapport with the local people, with some Alex now is an employee and he needs to employ local people as well. And, it's much better when you can speak to them in their own language, and in general just have a larger social circle as well. And it's just easier. It's just so much easier when you do.
Excellent. Well, I want to thank both of you for coming. It's very enjoyable to have you on the show. And for all of you, thanks for joining us. You can find us on the web at thejersway.com and all of the socials, The Jers Way. And we'll see you again next time.
Thanks, Jeremy, for having us.
You're welcome.
Thank you.